Hello, friends. Margaret Waters was one of the most infamous figures associated with the dark practice of baby farming in Victorian England. She was born around 1835 and lived in Peckham, South London. During the mid-19th century, rapid urbanization, widespread poverty, and the stigma of illegitimacy created a disturbing market for people willing to take in unwanted infants. This practice, known as baby farming, often involved women offering to care for children, sometimes for a lump sum payment, sometimes through weekly fees. While some baby farmers did provide genuine care, many exploited the desperation of unwed mothers and poverty-stricken families, leading to horrific neglect, abuse, and even murder. Margaret Waters entered this trade as a way to earn money. She advertised in newspapers, presenting herself as a nurse or caretaker who could provide a safe home for infants. Unwed mothers, anxious to hide their pregnancies or unable to afford childcare, entrusted their babies to her, often paying a one-time fee. But rather than properly feeding or raising these infants, Waters frequently neglected them, overdosed them with laudanum, an opiate used to keep babies quiet, and allowed them to starve. She and other baby farmers often pocketed the money and abandoned the children to die slowly in squalid conditions. By the 1860s, suspicions grew around Waters. Several babies left in her care had died under questionable circumstances. In 1870, the authorities discovered a horrifying case involving the death of a child named John Walter Cowan, only 16 months old. The infant had been handed over to Waters, who neglected him until he died of starvation and ill treatment. During the investigation, police found multiple infants in her home, some malnourished and close to death, others already deceased. Testimonies revealed that she routinely accepted infants with no intention of raising them, instead condemning them to a slow and cruel death. Waters was charged with murder and appeared before the Central Criminal Court, the Old Bailey, in October 1870. The trial drew widespread attention, shedding light on the grim underworld of baby farming in London. The evidence against her was overwhelming: malnourished babies, clear signs of neglect, and the deaths of numerous children linked directly to her care. The court found her guilty of the murder of baby Cowan. On October 11, 1870, Margaret Waters was executed by hanging at Horsemonger Lane Jail in South London. Her case caused a public outcry and played a major role in bringing attention to the baby farming scandal. Newspapers at the time portrayed her as a symbol of the horrors inflicted on innocent children by unscrupulous women who preyed on society's weakest. The trial and execution of Margaret Waters influenced later reforms. It increased public pressure to regulate infant care and adoption, contributing to stricter child protection laws. By the end of the 19th century, legislation such as the Infant Life Protection Act sought to monitor and limit the practice of baby farming, although cases continued to surface for decades. Margaret Waters remains remembered as one of the earliest and most notorious baby farmers to be executed, her crimes exposing a hidden social crisis in Victorian England, where desperation, poverty, and lack of welfare systems left countless infants vulnerable to exploitation and death. The case of Margaret Waters set the stage for how the public and authorities began to view the baby farming industry. Her execution in 1870 was a shocking event, but it was far from the end of such crimes. Instead, her trial exposed only the surface of a much deeper and darker reality that continued throughout Victorian England and into the early 20th century. After her death, newspapers, social reformers, and politicians began to speak out more openly about the dangers of unregulated childcare. The scandal around Waters helped push for the Infant Life Protection Act of 1872, which required those taking in 2 or more infants under the age of 1 to register with local authorities. While this was an important step, enforcement remained weak, and many baby farmers continued their practices in secret. Margaret Waters' notoriety also paved the way for the public to recognize similar figures. Her crimes were echoed most infamously in the case of Amelia Dyer, who operated decades later and became known as Britain's most prolific baby killer. Dyer, like Waters, advertised herself as a nurse and caretaker, luring desperate mothers with promises of adoption and safety for their children. But while Waters often neglected infants until they starved, Dyer accelerated the process by actively murdering babies, often by strangulation, before discarding their bodies. The connection between Waters and Dyer lies in how both cases revealed the vulnerability of infants in an era where social shame and poverty gave baby farmers easy access to victims. Both women exploited a society that provided little support for unwed mothers, leaving them with the grim choice of abandoning their babies, entrusting them to strangers, or facing lifelong stigma. Public outcry after each case led to incremental reforms. Waters' trial stirred debates about infant protection, while Dyer's exposure in the 1890s forced Parliament to strengthen the laws again, tightening oversight of private adoptions and childcare arrangements. These legal changes eventually laid the groundwork for modern child welfare systems, though they came too late for the countless infants who perished under baby farmers. Margaret Waters, though overshadowed by the scale of Amelia Dyer's crimes, is remembered as the first baby farmer whose practices brought the issue into full public view. Her execution was symbolic, serving as both punishment and warning, but it also showed how desperation and neglect within Victorian society created conditions where women like her could operate almost unchecked. Her story, alongside others, stands as a reminder of the importance of child protection laws and how social inequalities can create opportunities for exploitation. Waters' crimes, while monstrous, were also a grim reflection of a society struggling with urban poverty, stigma, and lack of compassion for the most vulnerable, unwed mothers and their children.